To me, there were 2 babies out there in the woods. I don't care how cold it was. I don't care whose children they were. There should have been law enforcement out looking for them until they were found. I just think that they jumped the gun by calling off that search. The girls possibly could have been found that night, and who knows what the outcome would have been.
I have never made a video on the mistakes that were made in the Delphi case. I have seen a lot of people commenting on the videos about it though. Some strong opinions both ways. And I just want to talk a little bit about a few things. Things that I consider to be big mistakes. Before I do go on, I just want to say I think the cops involved here are some really good people. They never had or never will have to deal with anything like this again. You can't prepare for something like this. Just a small town, Indiana, Monday afternoon. It's crazy that something like this can happen. And I think there's some really good cops there, some really good people who care desperately about this case and want to solve it. But that doesn't mean they didn't make mistakes. The audio that I played at the start was Libby's mum talking about the search getting called off at midnight. Now, LE dispute this. They say that they still had people out searching, but they definitely scaled it back big time till the following morning. And obviously the girls' families will be absolutely devastated by this. She does have a point, and I think she could be right. There's a good chance they would have been found, and I do think they were a bit slow in finding them. I like to think that now, 5 years later, drones have come such a long way, and they definitely have. They have drones now that can detect maggots on the forest floor. It's incredible. But I'm not sure yet whether this technology has been rolled out and has quick access to small towns like Delphi. But the FBI, TBI definitely have this stuff available. But also, a good example is a case we seen this week, Lily Peters. Very, very sad case. I'm sure a lot of you were following along. I'm not going to go too much into it. But they found Lily's bike on a Sunday. They had dogs, they had drones, and they still didn't find her body till the Monday. And her body was very, very close to the bike, so it's not as easy as you might think. And the longer the bodies are out in the elements, the less likely there's a chance that you're going to get a full DNA profile off that, or fingerprints, or anything like that. You've the weather, animals. You need to seal off and preserve that crime scene as fast as you can to give you the best chance to get all that lovely DNA. And we know in Delphi, we don't have much. There's a partial DNA, which doesn't mean much. If the girls were found the night before, would we have a full DNA profile? Maybe. But we'll never know now, unfortunately. And I do understand it a little bit. Lily Peters there now is a good example this week. Very close to the bike, and they didn't find her till the next day. With dogs and with drones. A bigger mistake, and a far more crucial one I think, is when they found the girls' bodies in Delphi, they called off the dogs. There was dogs coming in from out of state, and they called them to say, turn around, go home, we found the bodies, we don't need you anymore. Which was a terrible mistake. A huge error, because there was still a lot of things the dogs could have done for them at the crime scene. For one, they could have picking up a scent and letting us know how the perpetrator left. What direction did he go? We still don't know that. Fig Sols, who was on a live stream here on Delphi in the past, did a video on it last week speculating, did he cross the river again on his way out? And when you think about it, as gruesome as it sounds, he's going to be covered in blood. You're going to want to wash that off before you see people or get out of the trails. So I think there's a chance, and it's just a huge mistake. They know this though. I'm going to play some audio for you here. This is from Tobe Leazenby. He's the Carroll County Sheriff, so he had jurisdiction over all this. He's deep in this. Seems like a good man. I'm sure you know him if you're following the Delphi case. If you don't, he was the guy standing next to Doug Carter on all the press conferences. You'll notice him from now on anyway. He's the county sheriff, he's on the thick of it. This is the same interview where we find out that there's no more audio of BG on the audio file. And I'm only going to play a small bit of it here, but please go listen. You can hear the regret and how hurt this man is by the mistakes they made. Barbara, I don't know if she intended it. She's a pro, I'm guessing she did. Waited until she was down at the crime scene with him to start asking him a load of questions. And I think that environment made his answers a bit different than if it was in an office. It's clearly not a place the man likes, and I imagine anyone being there has some sort of PTSD. You'd have to. We know he's constantly looking over the photos and listening to the audio, and he knows that crime scene inside out. It's a bit different from me, you, or Barbara, or anyone who doesn't know what that crime scene looked like to be down there, because we don't know exactly where things were. We don't have those sights or images absolutely burned into our brains for the rest of our lives. And I think maybe that's probably why he was a bit loose in this. He just sounds a bit tired, a bit deflated. Barbara is relentless. You'll hear him talk about the dogs, and Barbara interrupts to try and mention about the escape route. He cuts her off, he doesn't really want to talk about it. And then straight away, next question. Barbara, boom. Here's the audio, just a reminder, he is standing in the crime scene with Barbara when she's asking him these questions.
Do you have regrets about anything that you've done or not done in this case up to this point?
I think we all do. Personally, for me, yes. There were some avenues we looked at and decided, and one of those was actually bringing in a canine bloodhound unit and we actually, honestly, we had them on their way. They were coming from Missouri. And once the girls were located, then we contacted those representatives and told them, okay, respectfully, we don't need you any longer because we've located them. I mean, all in all, from a positive angle, I feel like we've had practically every known, whether it's local, state, or federal law enforcement agency, come alongside of us and say, hey, what can we do to help? Resource-wise, I guess my point is, resource-wise, we have the resources, and still do have the resources available to us to come on board. The one thing that still, and I'm not real sure if they could have done anything else, even though we located the girls, but the one thing we could have potentially maybe had the canines continue, and there could have been other things they could have played a role in, but
like maybe tracking where he went?
Right, yeah. Other than that, I'm human, and I make mistakes, and I'll continue to make them. I don't know what else there could be brought up.
Do you know for certain which way this killer left?
I guess the way I'll respond to that is there is speculation, but nothing factual developed at this point.
I feel bad for the man, I really do. And I hope law enforcement learn from this. And I think they will. Unfortunately, there seems to be a lot of mistakes and lessons that can be learned from this case. Like, we think we're obsessed with it. Our obsession pales in comparison to these cops who are living with this every day. There's two other whoppers that I want to talk about in my next video. One being why they moved away from Kegan when they initially raided the house and found stuff on his device. And they did move away from him. I know some people were saying that, they never moved away, this was a long game, they were playing it all the time. I don't believe that. I honestly think that they investigated the social media connection, ruled it out, came back at a later date, reviewed it, and realised, oh wait, there's a connection here. And we have some receipts for that. Lots of receipts for that. And the other one being when they executed some search warrants, they didn't find everything that they should have finding. And I'll talk about that in the next video. Good luck, God bless, have a good day. I hope today is the day.